Welcome to another broadcast of The Competitive Edge. And today we're looking at a pretty interesting topic, and that is the face of self mastery. And I believe that self mastery is such an important topic because it is all about you finding yourself, and it's all about you living your richest life right now. So we'll take a look at that to see, what gems we can drop today that can put you on the path to finding yourself and living in your true essence. And today with me, I have again two dynamic personality. I have uh, Peter Scott, who represents the Legacy Chronicle Initiative, and he's all about helping you to develop your master plan. This being the beginning of the year, if you don't have a master plan, I want to say that, perhaps you're set to undermine your potential to achieve greatness. Because when you work with us in developing your master plan, it really gives you a broad eye view in terms of what is possible. But along with that, you're able to get the mentorship, the coaching, the support that's going to help you to be more successful. But Peter will talk briefly about that just now. I also have Shivani Sinorine, and May. She is a top notch when it comes to project management. And I would normally say project management is relevant to every aspect of your life. All right, whether you're cooking some food for the wedding or a party, or you are doing a major real estate project, and project management really helps you to have that deeper insight and closer relationship with the project. And that's where Shivani comes in. All right. So she's definitely a subject matter expert, a project management practitioner that can make significant difference in your life. So I want to pause here for a bit and just introduce these two dynamic persons and personalities, and ask them to just give a short introduction about themselves before we start today's program. I
Ladies,
know Peter is going to say ladies before gents. You see?
I was going to speak first and say, Peter, you go first and give me the opportunity this time. Thank you. But that's okay. Thank you so much, Gary. Always wonderful to be chatting with you all and, having everyone have a tune in, as we say, to a wonderful conversation every single day. Who am I? For those of us who don't know me, and listening to this program for the first time, I'm Shivani Sinarain, and project management all the way. Now, Gary just said something, and it made me laugh a little bit, right? But it's so true that you can really, project management is for everything. Project management is going to help you when you're planning your wedding, when you're cooking some food, right? So I feel you're talking about these large weddings, Gary, right? These large weddings
Yes, yes,
that I have, in the Caribbean that I go to
yeah,
all the time, these large weddings. So
yeah,
obviously it's a project. But
yeah.
even if it's a small wedding or what if it's a small project, project management concepts are so very relevant. So project management and in organizations, in your home, in professional and personal, things are not going right and or you have so many challenges. But when you look at the project management framework, you would be able to take tools that you can solve in almost every single thing. Just yesterday, I had a meeting with one of the projects that we are running off, and one of the team members, he was telling me, he said, Shivani, I'm not a project manager, but just listening to this, I'm taking notes because I am now can go and solve something that I was trying to solve. So, it made me feel so happy, right? That when people see project management can really solve anything. So that's why I'm here to contribute anything to project management. Over to you now, Corey.
indeed, indeed,
Yes, Peter, on to you, my friend.
indeed. And it's a delight, and we just want to welcome all our viewers and listeners wherever you are across the globe. We just want to let you know that our determination is to empower our community, to become to advance. We're every business that exists is in the business of human growth and development. And my focus really in doing that is a project that we call Legacy Chronicles, which we um, help individuals to understand that their life story, their professional expertise, their knowledge is there's a wealth of information and empowerment that can be distributed in the marketplace to empower others and also to generate revenue. And in order for individuals to do that effectively, it's always important for them to have a design, a plan. And I love Shivani's subject matter on project management because life is a project. And when we first understand that life is a consistent series of activities, series of circumstances, situation, challenges, that you're always seeking outcomes. And how do we achieve those outcomes? You got to have a plan. And if you're able to stand, the higher you're able to have a view of all the moving parts of that plan, the better you're in a position to create solutions. And where you can't find solution for yourself, then you will know who to ask based upon the circumstances and situation. You will know who to ask for assistance. So mastery is very important. Personal life master planning is a subject matter that we are endeavoring to get every individual to understand, especially as we're beginning at the beginning of the year. This is the best time to get some master planning in place so that you can be more effective in 2024.
Yeah. Peter, what I really love about what you said and what Shivani would have said also is that, you may have a master plan, which is necessary. Having your master plan is what I call, your anchor. It becomes your bedrock. It tells you where you are, where you want to go. It tells you how to get there. And I think that becomes like your compass, your navigator of life.
Mhm.
Especially when you're working with professionals to help you develop these and unique concepts about, life possibilities. But the addition to that is that, very often, even with the best minds that are going to help you to develop your personal life master plan or corporate life master plan, um, that's the first step,
Mhm.
developing the plan. You need to develop it because as you're documenting it. But I've seen very often, great minds develop great documents,
Mhm.
but never execute on it.
Yeah.
And this is where Shivani's skill set comes into play. Because when Shivani comes to you, she's going to say, I love this plan, or we can tweak this plan in this way. But she's going to be the person that's going to say, hey, I understand all the moving parts to this project. And this is what we need to do. We need to identify the human resource to move the process. We need to look at the technical resources to move the process. We need to look at the capital resources to move the project forward. We need to set timelines. We need to set completion criteria. So her skill set is really taking that plan and literally being like God on that plan. And that's to breathe life into that plan. And that is, how unique that skill set really is. So, you know, I'm saying this because I'm saying to the public, you don't have to struggle alone to develop your personal life master plan because you have the experts in our ecosystem and you don't have to come to us. I'm just saying that when you come to us, you have the best minds in our ecosystem to help you develop these content and actualize them. They are absolutely committed to this process. So I just want to emphasize this. So whether you want this for your personal life or you want this for business, you have a well-oiled working machine as a team of dynamic personalities that are going to go to work to ensure that you achieve your objectives and so much more. Now, with that being said, we're looking at the face of self mastery on the competitive edge, and today it's all about finding self. It's all about living in your essence and being you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that subject today. But again, I want you to call a friend, tell a friend that the competitive edge is on, and they should join us. Today we are broadcasting as usual across multiple social media platforms, and do remember to like, subscribe, and share also. So what I'll do, I'll go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll go deep into what the face of self-mastery looks like.
The High Net Worth Investor's Guide, where art meets science. Explore tools, processes, and systems that empower you to accelerate your journey to a seven-figure business. Access smart funding solutions for 6 and 7-figure enterprises. Harness capital for multiple income streams. Master the art and science of debt mitigation to build wealth faster. Experience comprehensive business support to propel your success at a budget that suits you. The High Net Worth Investor's Guide is tools, processes, and systems that influences success. With 10X Branding and Marketing LLC, our expert team specializes in enhancing your brand's visibility and connecting you with your ideal clients. We employ strategies that increase reach, leaving a lasting impact and driving client conversion. Trust and credibility are vital in businesses and excel in building them even with a limited budget. Our cost-effective approaches ensure you get the best results without overspending. Ready to boost your business cash flow? Contact us at 332-235-T99 and let 10X Branding and Marketing LLC guide you to success. Our focus is on elevating your visibility, which directly translates to growth. Experience the power of effective branding and marketing with us and witness your business thrive.
All right, welcome back to the competitive edge. And today we are talking about the face of self-mastery. What I've recognized as we begin to dig deeper into this subject is that it's a very, very broad subject matter. It's a very deep subject matter. And I do believe also it's a necessary subject matter for us to talk about. Why? Because we see that the majority of the people in the world don't ever use 10% of their brain power. We're seeing that people are not really trained and exposed to the right content of information that helps them to tap into the richness of self. So that's a subject matter that we can look at. Why that is so, perhaps not today, but I'm just saying that these are areas over a period of time that we can dive into. But in starting today's program, I want to leave some nuggets. I believe that one of the things that you owe yourself is to make that commitment in 2024 to become a subject matter expert in some field. All right, you owe it to yourself as you begin to focus on self-mastery and mastering yourself, is to figure out how to become a subject matter expert. And to become a subject matter expert doesn't mean that you have to do 20 things. You can identify one thing All right. And that can be a cosmetologist. That could be, an author. That can be uh, BFC, a business finance consultant. That could be an SCP, a sales communication professional. Whatever it is, I believe that you owe it to yourself to force identify an area that you want to become a subject matter expert in and make that commitment. So my talk today is going to be largely centered around practical steps that you can take to become a subject matter expert. And the first concept that I want you to think about is your habits. So you make a decision that I want to be the best in my field. I want to be an expert in my field. And the next thing should be what habits you need to start forming around the expertise that you want to have manifest in your life, that you want to master. And some of those habits, as I always talk about, when I lectured at the American University of Peace Study, I talk about this a whole lot. Four concepts that you need to keep in mind. You need to build healthy habits around reading, and that's reading on the subject that you want to become an expert on. You need to build healthy habits around writing, and that's writing on the subject that you want to become an expert on. You need to build healthy habits around talking, and that's talking on the subject that you want to be an expert on. And the last one is to build healthy habits around teaching in alignment with the subject that you want to become a subject matter expert on. And let me say why. What we have learned over many years is if you don't have a body of knowledge, you can read, you can listen to the right content, and in reading and listening to the right content, it helps to expand your knowledge and your awareness on the particular subject matter. All right. So reading is the key that opens the door to the world of knowledge. So that's one thing that you need to apply. The second one is writing. And you find that when you write on a subject matter that you are aiming to become a subject matter expert on, it is a way of assessing uh, how much knowledge you have retained. All right, because when you find that you're struggling to write and document your concept, it means perhaps that you still need to go back to the reading, archives and expand the knowledge. Once you find that you're struggling and you cannot articulate yourself as smoothly as we are articulating ourselves right now, so that's a testing ground. The writing is a testing ground to ensure that you have the ability to carry yourself as that subject matter expert. So you need to have these testing ground. Of course, there are many other benefits to that, but I'm just looking at this particular one. Again, when you talk on the subject matter, it's another way of testing. All right. And if you find that you're talking about a subject matter, it might be debt and equity and credit and creative financing, but you find that you cannot effectively articulate yourself around it because you don't have enough knowledge about it, you need to go right back to reading. Because remember, the aim here is how to become a subject matter expert. It's how to master, yourself. And you have to commit to these daily habits in order to bring yourself to that point where you truly have that mastery, where you truly have the expertise. The last concept that I will throw out here before I open up the conversation is what I call teaching. You need to bring yourself to that point of what I call professorship. You just don't want to be the ordinary teacher. You want to elevate yourself in your area of expertise to where you can demonstrate professorship. That means that you understand your subject matter well enough that you can teach it at the highest level. All right. That for me is one phase of self mastery. And it all begins with you. It's you waking up and saying that I'm going to take myself serious. I'm going to commit to allow the light in me to shine, and I'm going to do whatever it takes for that light to shine, to touch and affect and possibly transform the world the way we see it. And I want to say each and every one of us, we have that God-given potential inside of us to let that light shine. So I'm going to pause here for a bit and just open up for you guys to chime in to, the face of self-mastery. Over to you, my friends. Ladies before gents, okay.
Right.
Peter don't even have to say it, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, no problem. Now, when you were speaking about self mastery, it is a perfect topic, for everyone to
Yeah.
really get involved in. Self mastery. All of us, and I remember last time I was saying, let's not speak about it as self mastery, right? Let's speak about it as self practice, because it's something that you have to continuously get better at. You don't
Yeah.
know everything. So I was listening so attentively because yesterday, part of the project that I'm working on, we are developing this type of system. Um, and what is coming to mind, right? We are discussing what is referred to as a storytelling approach. Everything is a story. And self practice and self mastery is a story. You're telling a story. What is the story that you are telling? Is the story for life? Well, Peter will talk about stories, right? Because you have to let it be, what is your story for life? And just with the self practice, what I wanted to share, this is something that we are using, right? Storytelling for influence. And there are many different models that we could use. But one of the models, and when you're talking about self practice, the first aspect is as a storyteller, because if you want to master something or you want to practice something, it is for your life and you have to find your story. I mean, you have to find your story. Your story is different from mine. All of us will have our unique story. And this is something, whether you're doing it in your professional life, in projects that I'll do all the time, tell the correct story. And project managers need to understand that it is a story that you are telling. When you look at a story, people want to listen to your project. Whatever project it is, it might be a health project, oil and gas, education project, whatever it is a story that you are telling. And the story must have a flow, you know, and a lot of times when you analyze it at the end in projects, hey, why this thing didn't work? It didn't have a story. Everybody like to call me up. I'm a good storyteller, right? So I'm into the storytelling for influence. My nephew always calls me up every night, and he's a 7-year-old and says, tell me a story, tell me a story. So I'm always telling him good stories. And then I get quarrel up when I don't tell him a good story. So what exactly is this storytelling that I wanted to share? The first is saying when you want to get self-mastery and self-influence and self-practice, you as a storyteller, you must set the scene. So it's your life story as well. Have you set the scene and the character's background? Do you know the characters that you want to be part of this? And then you must tell an incident. It must be something to excite people. What has happened? Right? This is a story that you are building, and you must have a chain of events. So self-mastery and self-practice is all about that. The first is exposition, right? You must set the scene and the character's background. Is Gary going to be in the scene? Am I going to be in the scene? Is Peter going to be in the scene? Who's going to be in your scene that you are creating? And then the second point is saying, give me something to excite me. What is the incident that has occurred? If you want to self-practice, it's 2024, self-mastery. What is the incident that you're looking for? You're looking to improve, right? And then, of course, when you know what you want, you're going to have a rise in action. That's the third point. The story builds. You have to keep remembering this is going to come up and then come down, right? So it's a rise in action. And then what is always missing from a story, and when I look at the story that you're telling for life or for your project, it must have a climax. What is the climax? Sometimes I watch a story in projects and I'm trying to take the project now and put it into a story concept, and I can't because there's no climax. And then you will have a fall in action. You will have a fall in action, that story. And, that's all right. When we start to think like that, something may fall, no problem, because it's the events of the climax. And then the perfect part of the story is your resolution. So in project management, I like to look at it as a life cycle always. Whether you're doing a project or whether you're doing your life story and you're trying to self master, you're trying to self practice, you have a life cycle to follow. And every aspect is something that will contribute to the overall story that you're trying to tell. So, resolution, how are you going to resolve it? So self-practice a life cycle. So I use this concept in for project management, and I find it's such a great thing that persons can develop more. Thanks, Gary. Just wanted to share that.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
wow,
just,
indeed. Wow, indeed.
yeah,
You
and
want to
just
listen to the story now, right? I could tell stories, right?
no, Shivani took me all the way back to, my days in writing school, where we talk about, you know, storytelling, and you look at who's the antagonist and who's the protagonist, and we talk about climax and anticlimax, and then we talk about conflict with self and conflict with society and conflict with environment. So all of those things that you talk about is so relevant to the story, but she just took me back to those days when I was in writing school. So those are definitely great points, Shivani. And I trust that our listening audience is taking some notes on all of this. Peter, all to you, my friend.
Yeah, it's beautiful to to look at life, from as Shivani mentioned it a while ago. Life is a series of projects, but every project or every condition, there is a story behind everything that is evolving in life. And if we can slow, the issue is that sometimes people are moving so fast that they do not take the time to watch as things unfold, and so we
Yeah, they're
miss
on the treadmill.
very vital.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then this repetition, and then because it becomes monotonous, it becomes boring when life becomes monotonous. But when we see the cycles in life and we take the time out to watch all the various compartments of what life is all about, it gives life that flowery beauty that we can enjoy. And with that being said, what we ask individuals to do when we're talking about um, looking at themselves as to create a plan. And you mentioned the subject matter of mastery, and the reason why, I agree with Shivani about the thought of mastery. It's because even the word mastery has two connotations to it, right? So there's one connotation of mastery that says that it is a comprehensive knowledge or skill in a subject matter or accomplishment. But then the second definition of mastery, it is control or superiority over someone or something. It's okay to gain superiority over something, but it's never a good thing to take superiority over someone, because you're going to trigger adversaries. And this is the kind of why the world is in the chaos that it is in right now. What happens between all the wars that are fought, it is somebody trying to take control or superiority over somebody else's right to exist. So the approach that we can, use mastery in its right context is that we need to understand the me. Then when we say me, who am I talking about? And when I look at you and I say you, who am I talking about? And often not, we do not define ourselves in a way by which we can begin to take control, because the only person that we need to control, or the only person that we need to master, is really ourselves, where we look at ourselves as, yes, we are a runaway train. We can become a runaway train. And so we need to hold the reins of control over our lives, so that, like a ship or like a captain who has this great vessel of a ship, he has to make sure that he's constantly mastering the rudder, because the minute he takes his eyes off that mechanism that gives guidance, then just one degree off can take him hundreds of miles by the time he reaches his destination, depending on how far he's going. So when we talk about mastery of self or mastery over us, who are we talking about? Self-mastery. What is a self? So if we're going to master self, then we got to create those compartments of who self is. So we know that human beings are tri-compart individuals. We have a body which we can see when we look in the mirror. And then we have a human spirit which is our consciousness or our conscience, that tells us when something is right or something is wrong, because we're living in a very dynamic world of yin and the yang, the good and the bad, all of these conditions. Now, most of the time, it is the human spirit that senses this thing. When we come into an atmosphere, we just sense certain things. So we do have this sensory mechanism that can attest to what is happening in the ethos, in what is happening around us. And then that is going to affect the soul. And when we're talking about the soul, the psyche, then what are we talking about? There are 6 components that goes into the psyche. And so if we could check ourselves, when I'm talking about my soul or my mind, the Greek word for soul is interpreted as psyche, which we got the word psychology from. And psychology is the study of the mind. So when we begin to study the mind, there are 6 components that will be addressed. We have to address our memory. We address our thoughts. We address our intellect. We address our emotions. We address our will. And we address our imagination. So when we can look at ourselves from these components, it's all these components. So in totality, we're talking about, when I say you, I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 8 components. And each of those components has other components breaking down. So that's a massive project right there.
Yeah, I can
talk about me.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is interconnected, Peter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Each piece, when 2 pieces come together, it's a whole different apparatus that goes into. And then when everything come into it, can be a mighty mess when everything is operating. Then put that into an environment, then put that in connection with another person who has all of those components together. It can get pretty ugly, depending, or pretty beautiful if we now understand how to control that. And that's the only thing that we should ever try to control, all those components of me, because when we're able to do that well, then we're able to navigate our way through life effectively.
Wow, I love those gems, and pretty profound. I really love them. I want to just add a few more things. I really, really love what you said. But to add to that, I do believe that, having control over self is so important. And what you have done just now, you've identified what it takes to have control over self. You talk about imagination. You talk about, a series of different things that you, the individual, wants to have control over. What I've also seen is that by having control over yourself, all right, by mastering who you are, the default setting is set for you to be a great influence. So, and that because you're going to be a great influence, you are now able to influence people without that harsh, we call autocratic control mechanism. It's more a democratic way of influencing and creating and control. You can see that happening in a family setting, because as the leader of the home, because you're anchoring your sense of self, you're flowing in your essence, you create parameters that you're working in, you educate people of the benefits of those parameters, and by default, or by direct influence, you are able now to exercise control. And that becomes part of the benefit, because what we are seeing, and we look at successful people in the world, most successful people in the world, and those that made a deliberate effort to ensure that they lay down the right systems, it passed on to their offspring. And I can call names like the Rockefeller. The Rockefeller, when we, or the Rothschild, let's go to the Rothschild, not the Rockefeller. The Rockefeller is the oil and gas people. But let's go to the Rothschild, the banking sector. I could recall in the days gone by, they were restricted in terms of the kind of things and businesses that they can go into. And in spite of all of that, he continued to commit in the concept of self-mastery, to the point where he started to attain tremendous amount of wealth because of committing to learning self, applying self, going out there, testing the system, challenging the system. He became the best version of himself, to the point where he was now relevant to kings and queens, and he was relevant to the wealthiest people in the world, because he now had the wherewithal to give to them. And I do believe that this is part of the face of self-mastery. When you really commit to yourself to rise above challenges and to rise above all odds, there's something that happens in that self and that self-mastery that makes you relevant to society as a whole. But there's a couple of things. I just said that based on what you would have said, Peter, but there's a couple other things that I want to quickly focus on. Habits is something I spoke about early on. You need to have the right habits when you're going after self-mastery. But I believe also, as you go after self-mastery, you can go at self-mastery in isolation to, external factors. And what are those external factors? And to understand the external factors, as you focus on mastering yourself, whatever area of mastery you're developing, you want to pause a bit and ensure that that skill set, that mastery set, is relevant to people. And let me go, and here again is where we talk about the importance of being market oriented, market sensitive, and market responsive. You need these three things working together as you develop your mastery. Or because developing mastery is not, it's a very unique subject matter, but I just want to share that, because the more you understand you're market oriented, is the more you understand people, the more you understand their needs and their wants and their expectations and their dreams. And you're building your mastery to deliver on those dreams, on those hopes, and those aspirations. But what I'm saying here, for you to fix challenges in the world, it begins with you knowing how to fix you. It's about mastering you, first of all. And to ensure that as you fill your vessel up, which is you, that vessel has to be relevant to people. Because if you're mastering you and you're in isolation, you're still irrelevant. But it's how you fill your vessel up and to ensure that that vessel is relevant to people. So again, filling your vessel up means that you're making a commitment to master a skill set. As I talk about becoming a subject matter expert, you can be the guy talking about credit management, and you're helping millions of people across the United States to understand how to access, leverage, and mitigate credit, because you have, you know, many millions. You have over 50 million Americans that are struggling with credit card debt. This can be an area of mastery for you. All right, just to name a few. So it's a great subject matter. And I do believe that there are tremendous benefits when you can pause and make that commitment that I want to master me. I want to master me because I come more relevant to myself. I want to master me because I come more relevant to society. I want to master me because when I'm relevant to myself and relevant to society, it opens door for me to, get access to, greater financial opportunities. Now that I have greater access to financial opportunities, I have greater access to live a better quality of life that can not only affect me, but it can affect everyone next to me because of the hard work that I'm doing. So I'm trying to talk story here, like Shabani said, right?
Good story. I'm listening.
So we got a good teacher here, right? So we apply it right away. So she can tell me if I get A or B or distinction. Yeah,
Listen,
guys.
I'm happy to have a red pen. Let me get my red pen. Yeah. Good.
Yes, Shivani. So there's tremendous benefits in making the commitment to find who you are, master who you are, and live in your assets. It's not just about you. It's that ripple effect. It's that pebble. When you master you, is that pebble that you're dropping into the water, into the ocean, that create that positive, ripple effect that affects all aspects of your life when you master yourself. And I pause there. Back to you guys. What are your thoughts?
Take out the red pen and grade him.
Yeah. Good point. We will, because we are discussing self-practice, right? We are not given the A immediately, right? So you have to practice. It's incremental learnings, right?
I'm going to get my placard and I'm going to start protesting.
Yes.
I work
So
hard.
let's see, right? We'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the other day, right? Great.
Okay, Shivani, you win.
Yes. But
Okay.
self-mastery, self-practice, these are terms that all career professionals, as you always talk about us, I'm using your term now, Peter, career professionals, right? That's what we need to do. We need to understand what is your process. How are you going to get better at something? And this is something that we got to improve on, right? Your life cycle for self-mastery and self-practice got a life cycle that must be continued, right? So even if you look at it as a project, and I've gotten to this point, you're talking about developing yourself as a subject matter. What are the skills? What are the skills that you have learned? Now you're looking at this always. So something, I just came out of another meeting, and this is what we were speaking about. What skills have you acquired? If it's a project, so at the end of every single project that we run, this is something that I ask everybody to do. Let us do a skills review. A skills review. Did you, as an individual, coming into this meeting, we had a 6 months project, or what is a 3-year project, whatever length of time, and did you learn a new skill? Did you learn a new skill? And I guess that's what you are saying too. This is where the teaching aspect comes in. I believe everything gets better when you could teach somebody something, right? You improve yourself. So I ask everyone, did you learn a new skill? And me as a teacher also, because I'm wearing many different hats as just like yourself. At the end of the project, I tell people, did I learn something from you? And this is how we will really improve. I alone can't teach. As you said, it's interconnection. I have to learn something from you. That storytelling that I was telling you all, that was a skill that I learned from the project. I was not an expert in it, but I learned it, and I'm still going to practice it and put it in different things now. Someone was just sharing something who's not a project manager, and they were a subject matter expert in language. And I was like, oh my, I can take this now and actually blend it into projects, right? So we are ideating and forming something from that. So how do you do self-mastery and self-practice? I'm coming back to that always. It's not reading from a book alone, as you are saying. It's ideating with different persons. Take a concept that they are talking about and put it into your environment. It's, sometimes people may say you take the concept and you're taking the idea from somebody. No, it's not taking the idea from someone. It's building on the ideas. It's building on the ideas. And that's a collaborative way of self-practice and self-mastery where you have to learn. So skills review is what I wanted to contribute to this conversation. Skills review and using this concept will really help people in becoming better at whatever you do. You don't even know what you want to do yet. A lot of people don't know, or they may have this linear approach. But as you all know, I'm not into the linear approach. I will develop my skill in one area and then I want to develop again. And you keep developing and developing. So it's more cyclic, continue circle, the circle of life, we say, and everything is interconnected. So when people start to think like that everything is interconnected, you can say something and I can take it and develop it into something more. And that's all right. Peter will say something, and I'll develop it. And Peter would be okay with saying, I started with that idea, but it really wasn't my idea, It was something that you said, Peter said, but I develop it into a new idea then. But the outcome is not what you originally thought. So, we continuously practicing, and even as I'm speaking here, I'm practicing my thinking and what I want to develop here. So thanks for allowing me to do that.
Right.
Certainly welcome, Shivani. Peter?
Yeah, the concept of being human, building on Chevanet's idea now. Of being human, the concept of being human, because in all the dynamics that I mentioned earlier, the various constitution of self, of what constitutes self, and the interchange with other individuals who are operating in the same setting, we share an environment. And it is within that environment where each person has the opportunity to be human. And being human is about building on the ideas to create a better experience that all of us are sharing. And we rise or we fall in regards to how we treat or interchange or exchange with the other human beings within that. So the concept that you were mentioning, Gary, about even the Rothschilds, how this individual was able to increase or to develop his skill sets and his ability to the degree that he was able to make contribution to the highest levels of individuals within the other high profile individuals in the society, enable him to create a legacy for his generation. And that is the responsibility for every individual being or sharing the human experience. It ought to be that we are here to empower the other. It's not just to look at what the self can attain. I'm doing something, but I'm doing it with self-interest is important to a degree, right? Because we have to put the mask on if we're going to save ourselves first. Then I'm saving myself first. Why? Because I'm empowering myself to empower other persons with whom I'm exchanging or working within that environment. But the objective goal, the overall goal, the key objective is that we're all should be benefiting and we all should be uplifting humanity. So that now is a concept that I like to communicate when we're building master plans. I like to get individuals to understand that we are sent here on an assignment. Every individual comes into life on an assignment. And the reason why we have so many problems in the world is because most individuals, most human beings are yet to discover the assignment that they were sent to or for. And when individuals are struggling to discover their assignment, they more often than not, they become a part of the problem more than the solution. So we try to get individuals to do that self-discovery, as we mentioned, to become that master, to begin to look at the self that we're speaking about and see how quickly we can manage or how we can develop those various components of who we are as a solution to somebody else's issue. So the best, it is within my self-interest, my best self-interest is to serve somebody else. And when we approach life in that way, then two persons are getting served. The other person that I'm sharing the environment is getting served. And at the same time, by serving them, I'm serving myself. So I believe that the problems in our world, it can be solved overnight. The problems in our world can be solved overnight when we understand that it is not in my interest to hurt somebody else, or as Shebane said, to not to take somebody's idea. It's not within my interest to take somebody's idea. It's in my better interest to build on somebody else's idea, because in so doing, we're all contributing to the overall good of the environment that we're sharing, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Well,
Of course.
Peter, you're dropping some gems. What I'm taking away here is that while emphasis is being placed on self mastery, you're not mastering self for self, but
Mm.
you're mastering self for the ripple effect that it can have with your family, in your community, in the organization, in society as a whole. So that's something that I'm taking away. But even as you articulate around self mastery, I'm asking myself, do people really pause and ask themselves how to connect and flow in the richness of their essence? Because we said it, the majority of people don't ever use 5% of their brain power in their entire life cycle.
Mhm.
And, I am so touched when I see persons are rising up and they're beginning to tap into their greatness. And I wanted to just share a story quickly. But just before I share the story, I want to say hello to our viewers who are viewing us from across the world. I see Forbes. I must acknowledge Forbes. He has been on the program. He been saying I missed yesterday's program, and I need yesterday's program, and he's enjoyed the program. And all the other persons who are viewing us, I want to say thank you. But I want to share a quick story. The world has become somewhat accustomed to Terrence Howard. Howard is a famous actor. If you just Google the name, you will see it. And I saw this young man as an actor, and I know he has tremendous potential. But when I learned that this guy is just more than an actor, he's a scientist, and he's tapping into the greatness of his thinking. I was like, wow, because today he is one of the greatest thinkers the world has ever known. And what he's doing is cracking codes that Da Vinci could not have cracked. And this is a guy that who you perceive to be ordinary, who is tapping into his creative thinking ability, and he's really flowing in his essence. So I want to encourage you to go to Terrence Howard and study what he's doing. It's going to transform your the way you think. Some of the things that you think you know about gravity, he's going into all of these different things, and he's really bringing new perspective, new thoughts to the whole process. And Peter, I mentioned his name because I know that you will be shocked the way that I was shocked. I saw this guy as an actor, not as a scientist. But this guy is not just an ordinary scientist. He's undermining and disrupting everything that is known in the scientific world.
Mm.
He's that good. And I'm looking at him, and for hours I've been saying, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And I think that when you start to see how people can elevate and start to flow in the essence of their greatness, it's that aha moment. It's that wow moment.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage the audience to really take a look at that, to really understand what we're talking about when we're talking about the phase of self-mastery. This is a young man that had tremendous challenges. And I'm saying to myself that he suppressed his talent for many, many years, because I think it's only in his 50s now, or 40s, that he's now articulating himself around that. But I'm going to pass to you, my friends, all to you.
Yeah, the environment, if I should, just quickly, as you're mentioning here about Terrence Howard, and all of us share an environment which I guess now he is tapping into, um, looking at an abundant environment and how he can, you know, tap into other talents and skills that he has. And I think each of us has that ability. And but if we think of life as in terms of scarcity, we all share this environment, right? And I think a part of the problem why there's so much chaos in our world is because we think that there is scarce resources. I think that's the problem. I think the Thanos, the issue of the Thanos narrative is what the those that are trying to rule the world. They have come to this conclusion that there is scarcity in the world, and because they think that there's scarcity in the world, then there is not enough resources to share. So now it becomes the battle for the fittest. And when it becomes the battle for the fittest, now because there's no then there has to be competition, and it means that I have to do everything in my power to undermine somebody else if I'm going to achieve or if I'm going to excel and succeed. And it is within those kind of environments why the world is as it is now. But when you begin to think that there's no scarcity, I mean, we live in an abundant environment. Just look at the power, and you and I, Gary, talk about this all the time. The power of a seed. One seed can produce an entire orchard. One seed can feed the entire world in time. So there is no scarcity. Look at the ocean. I mean, the abundance of water that we have, and water is one of those elements that we all depend on where life is concerned. If we, I think recently Elon Musk where they're saying that there's not enough land, and people are crammed in cities. But then Elon made the analysis that if you take all the population of the world and pack them together in one location, that we would just form a little spot in comparison to the land mass that is of the world. So when those minds who tries to convey to the community that there is scarcity, that is those people are the problems of our world. When we begin to think in abundance, then we have now room to collaborate. We now have room to take an idea and build on that idea. There is room where I can see somebody not as a threat, but I can see them as a partner by which we can collaborate and build something together. So if we're going to really change the dynamics, then we've got to change the psyche. We've got to change, the psyche. We've got to change the self. We've got to master because inside of us, when we talk about spirit, there is the good and the evil, the good and the evil. And this is where we do understand that we live in an environment where there is dualistic element. So we all want to think that, think good of, what is happening in around us, but there is certain elements that is working, that would want to work against us as a human species. And if we can really not allow those undermining qualities to infest, and to infest us, if I can, and this is where the self-master come from, and when I'm going to work hard not to be infested by the evils that exist, so that I can be the best or present the best good to the environment and to the person that I'm sharing life with. Yeah, I think we can have some headway.
Yeah, Peter, powerful share. I truly love it. And next week, we're going to definitely expand on these concepts, because I do believe, as we said, when we talk of this particular topic, we're not talking about them in isolation to how it can impact business. Because think about it. You have someone in your organization who have really mastered the art of self. It means that they're going to be functioning better in your organization. You don't have to commit a whole lot of time to keeping them motivated, because they're coming to the organization with their mastery. So they're going to increase productivity, they're going to increase profitability, they're going to drive the growth and success of your business. So as we talk about self-mastery, it's not in isolation to the significant role that self-mastery individual self-mastery plays in driving organization, driving the economy, making the world a better place, as Peter is alluding to. But we'll continue to expand on this in next week's program. With that being said, I'm going to ask everyone to, let's begin to wrap up. I would love to hear your closing remarks as we look at this very, very dynamic conversation. Shivani, I'll start with you.
So self-mastery, self-practice, I'll always think about what are the processes that will allow me to do this. I need to itemize, I need to build, right? I need to ideate. What are the processes that will allow me to do this? And surrounding that, we are all guided by principles for self-mastery and self-practice.
Right.
So I want to look at it as a whole. That's how I like to do this. I like to look at it as a whole. Everything connects. Because I'll have my principles, you'll have your principles, everybody will have their processes. So, and I know that when you do that, Peter, you know, when you have person's master plan, that's how you'll do it. You look at each individual as an individual, and you are governed by your principles and you are governed by your processes in order to achieve self-mastery and self-practice to get better at something. So as leaders, as project managers, as life persons, as human beings, as we say, right? As human beings, what you were saying. We have a system, we have a process to follow. You firstly have to understand if you are following the correct process, Because a lot of times people might just be saying, let me time to do something, time for me to learn a new skill. And it doesn't have any benefits. So I like to tie in these concepts for self-mastery and self-practice as I develop my concepts as well, and bring it home to project management. You look at principles, you look at processes, and you look at the benefits of doing something. The benefits. So it's a whole system, a structure, for life. Yeah, that's my closing for now.
All right, thanks for that share, Shivani and Peter.
Yeah, and even to build on what Shivani said so a while ago about the principles and the breaking down to see the thing as the whole and each of the contributing parts. So you see it as the whole first, and then in order because you can't really eat a cow, right, in one bite. So you want to cut it down in pieces, and then you start to eat pieces, and eventually we can get it done. So the approach of the whole, and then if understanding, if I should encourage somebody today, where do you start? By looking at life as a project, your life as a project, the beginning of the year, and you want to really make some changes in our lives, or how could you actually? What's a simple approach you can take? Well, you can take a simple approach of breaking down the whole of life into 4 concepts, which is your health. Because if you don't have health, you don't have much at all. Mm-hmm. Then you can look at it that you're in order to keep your health, and your health has physical health, mental health, spiritual health, relational health, and your environmental health. And all of that, if you're going to really deal with all of that effectively, then you're going to need some money. You're going to need wealth.
Your wealth health.
You're going to need health.
Yeah.
You need health, you're going to need wealth. And no man is an island, because in anything that you're going to do to generate wealth, you have to you're going to need to serve somebody to be able to generate wealth. So hence you're going to need relationships. So So you need health, you need wealth, and now you need relationships. So when you start to build those relationships, then time is a factor because we only have 24 hours in the day. So you're going to need now to set appointments. So you have health, wealth, relationships, and appointments. And if we can break down our day by day approach to life like that, you have to be healthy. You're going to need some money. You need wealth. You're gonna need people to serve and need relationships, and you're gonna do that in time. And you break those down into further structures. You can have an entire year where you're busy helping people and empowering your community.
Love that. Wow, wow, wow. That was some powerful gems. You know, you need health, you need wealth, you need relationship, you need to manage time. So much of was packed into that, and closing. I really love it, Peter. So to the general public, I really trust that you enjoy today's program. We look at the face of self-mastery, and we look at the face of self-mastery in the eyes that the majority of the people in the world are never able to tap into even 5% of their brain power. In 2024, we wish that you can make a commitment. Now, this can only happen when you make the commitment to start to activate, more of your brain power. And I want to say that I believe it begins with having a master plan. I believe it begins by having a project manager that next to you that can say, hey, I'm going to help you to move a process forward. I believe it can also begin by you being a part of the community that is truly committed to giving you the support, the tools, the support, the mentorship, the sponsorship to move your vision forward. Again, as I keep saying, on this platform is a very strong ecosystem that we have. We have subject matter experts. We have persons who have represented Fortune 500 companies. You're going to be learning more about those personalities who are here in our community to help push you forward. All you need to do is to DM us, send us a text, DM us, and we will start that conversation and give you the support that you need to truly tap in to your greatness. With that being said, I want to thank our viewers from across the world. And I see they're sending a number of different texts to us today. I want to thank you for taking the time out to be a part of this program. And we will do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have the High Net Worth Investors Guide, and that program will start at 2 p.m. EST Standard Time. So I encourage you to come join us. We're going to have another dynamic conversation, and we are going to be having one of our Fortune 500 leaders in the house. So I encourage you to come and discover who that Fortune 500 representative is. With that being said, I want to thank you guys I want to thank Shivani Sinarayan and Peter Scott for taking the time out. All right. These guys have mastered their craft. And what they have done, they are now sharing their knowledge, their skill set, their experience, their know-how with the public. Why? Because they want you to achieve greatness too. So with that being said, I want to say thanks again, friends, and we do this again tomorrow. Do enjoy the weekend ahead of you guys.
Cheers.
Okay, my friend.